We are taught that toxic parents are the obvious villains. We expect them to be the ones who scream, the ones who abandon, the ones who clearly do not care. But that is the easy version of the story. The most dangerous kind of conditional love doesn't come from bad people. It comes from people who genuinely believe they are protecting you, and their protection requires you to completely erase who you actually are. Look at Stoic the Vast. He is the chief of Berk, a man entirely defined by his ability to protect his people from dragons. He isn't an evil king. He is a terrified father. He equates survival purely with violence, noting that even as a boy, he knew what he had to become to crush mountains, level forests, and tame seas. If you have ever chosen a career, a major, or a personality just to keep the peace at the dinner table, How to Train Your Dragon is not a movie about a boy and his pet. It is a terrifyingly accurate blueprint of the exact psychological trap you are sitting in right now. But when he looks at his son, Hiccup, he doesn't see a child to nurture. He sees a liability. He asks his friend that,
what chance does he have of following in my footsteps?
Yeah.
Stoic cannot comprehend a version of safety or success that doesn't look exactly like his own. And because he loves his son, he decides to fix him by destroying him. The turning point happens when Stoic finally allows Hiccup to join dragon training. He doesn't just hand his son an axe, he hands him a psychological contract. Stoic looks at him and says,
when you carry this axe, you carry all of us with you. Which means you walk like us, you talk like us, you think like us. No more of
this. He literally gestures to Hiccup's entire body. When Hiccup points out that his father just gestured to all of me, Stoic doesn't apologize. He simply demands, deal? This is the literal architecture of conditional love. It is not an abusive rage, it is an economy. The deal is brutally simple. I will give you the inclusion, the safety, and the affection you have been starving for your entire life, but you must pay for it by killing the person you actually are. This is how authority figures, parents, bosses, mentors, weaponize their approval. They treat affection as a transaction that must be bought with conformity. You perform the identity I want, and I will pay you in pride. It is a transactional arrangement where your authenticity is the currency you must burn to buy your survival. But here is the terrifying problem with that economy. It works. Hiccup uses his secret knowledge of dragons to fake his way through the training ring. He pacifies the dragons without killing them, but the village thinks he is a ruthless prodigy. He performs the exact identity his father demanded. And suddenly, Stoic is overjoyed. The father who previously could barely look at his son now sits him down and says,
with you doing so well in the ring,
we finally have something to talk about.
He gives Hiccup a piece of his dead mother's breastplate, beaming with pride, and says,
you've held up your end of the deal.
Later, in front of the entire village, Stoic boasts,
today my boy becomes a Viking. Today he becomes one of us!
But watch Hiccup's face during these scenes. He is miserable. Why? Because the love is real, but it feels like a hostage situation because it is being given to a ghost. Hiccup built a false self, a perfectly constructed mask designed to survive the expectations of his father, and now that mask is receiving all the applause. When you get everything you ever wanted by pretending to be someone else, it does not feel like a victory. It feels like a trap. But you cannot run a false self forever. Eventually, the system demands blood to seal the contract. To officially graduate and become his father's son, Hiccup has to kill a dragon. But Hiccup has a secret. He already had a legendary Night Fury tied down in the woods, helpless. He raised his knife to take the prize, but he couldn't do it. Later, when confronted about why he couldn't just kill the dragon and be normal, Hiccup finally confesses the truth.
I wouldn't kill him because he looked as frightened as I was. I looked at him, and I saw myself.
This is the internal breaking point. This is the cognitive dissonance of conditional love. The system of Burke demands that Hiccup kill his own empathy in order to belong. But true strength isn't mastering the system's weapons, it is radical empathy. Hiccup realizes that the monsters his father has been fighting his whole life are just as terrified as he is. He looks at the enemy and recognizes his own vulnerability. He realizes he cannot step into his father's legacy without destroying his own soul. And this is where we stop talking about animated Vikings. Because you know this exact person. Or you are this person. At some point, probably before you were old enough to understand what you were doing, you figured out that your real self was too loud, too sensitive, or too different for the room you were in. You realized that if you could just run a quieter, hyper-competent, compliant version of yourself, the good son, the easy employee, the perfect student, people would relax around you. And here is the part nobody warns you about. They applauded you for it. They gave you the promotion, the praise, the breastplate. You held up your end of the deal. But late at night, the exhaustion hits. You realize that if you ever stop performing the script they handed you, the applause will stop, and you will be entirely alone again. You are surviving, but you are carrying the crushing weight of knowing that the people who say they love you don't actually know you at all. You didn't cure your isolation, you just gave it better branding. The arena exam arrives. Hiccup walks in. The whole village is watching. His father is beaming with pride. All Hiccup has to do is swing the weapon, kill the dragon, and the love is permanent. Instead, he drops his weapon. He reaches out a hand to the dragon, looks at the crowd, and says,
I'm not one of them.
He breaks the contract. He refuses to run the false self for one more second. He doesn't fight the dragon. He fights the lie. And Stoic's reaction is the ultimate childhood fear realized. The arena descends into chaos. Afterward, Hiccup begs his father to listen, to understand that the dragons only raid because they have to survive, because they are defending themselves. But Stoic cannot hear it. His condition for love has been broken. He looks at his son and delivers the ultimate punishment.
You've thrown your lot in with them. You're not a Viking. You're not my son.
The exact second the performance stopped, the love was instantly revoked. It proves that conditional love is never actually about protecting the child. It is entirely about protecting the parent's worldview. We are taught that bravery is fighting the monster, that bravery is winning the war, slaying the dragon, and finally becoming someone your parents can be proud of. But this story is telling you something much harder. Bravery isn't violence. Bravery is dropping the mask. Bravery is surviving what happens after you stop performing, because when the performance ends, so does the guarantee. And that's the part no one prepares you for. The movie doesn't end with Hiccup becoming a better fighter. It ends with him refusing to become one at all. He saves his village the only way he ever could. Not by becoming what they wanted, but by staying who he already was. And only then, his father finally sees him. Not the Dragon Slayer, not the version that fit the mold, the real one. And says,
I'm proud to call you my son.
not because he met the condition, but because he broke it. And here's the truth most people spend years trying to avoid. You cannot outperform a condition. You can only satisfy it temporarily. So if the people in your life only love the version of you that performs, stop swinging the weapon just to keep your seat at the table. Because at some point, you have to decide, is belonging worth it if it costs you the person who belongs there? And if the only thing keeping you loved is the role you're playing, then maybe the bravest thing you can do is let them watch you walk out of the arena